yet you won't utter a word of criticism against him. Why can't you be honest and tell us what you really think of how he led the Labour Party?
We need to bear in mind we've lost 4 in a row.
But this is the one you really lost.
Oh, no, we really did. And I went out with 44 campaigning teams, and that discussion was there in every team, in every
So why not a
constituency.
word of criticism of the man who led you to that defeat?
The overload of the manifesto, people felt there was too much in it. And I'm sad to say, in a number of areas, anti-Semitism came up. So the leadership did come up.
No.
Keir Starmer's interview with Andrew Neil wasn't just bad, it was a political car crash in slow motion. And we've got the footage to prove it. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Watch as Starmer squirms under Neil's relentless questioning, fumbling for answers on everything from campaign finances to his relationship with Jeremy Corbyn. This isn't just an interview, it's a masterclass in political demolition.
Tell you what a lot of people, because you're reluctant to say what Charlie Faulkner thinks you think. And that is, you're reluctant because a large part of the Labour membership still worships Jeremy Corbyn.
I worked well with him. He actually led us through some really difficult times. I had disputes with Jeremy, things I didn't agree with him on, and we either had it out around the shadow cabinet table, or on occasion I went to his constituency office and we had a discussion there.
You cannot plan the future without understanding the past. And if you have nothing bad to say about Mr. Corbyn's leadership now, why did you take part in the attempt to topple him as leader in 2016?
Andrew Neil's reputation as a formidable interviewer preceded him, and Keir Starmer walked into the studio with an air of confidence. He was ready to showcase his leadership qualities and prove himself as the face of Labour. But as the cameras rolled, that facade began to crumble. Neil wasted no time in probing Starmer's past statements and policy positions. His questions were sharp, focused, and relentless. At first, Starmer maintained his composure, offering rehearsed responses. But as Neil pushed harder for clarity on union influence and campaign funding, cracks started to appear. The turning point came when Neil presented evidence of contradictions in Starmer's statements.
Number one, you say, but you won't criticise it.
Well, it's not I won't criticise him. Jeremy...
But you haven't.
Well, Jeremy is stepping down. We're now asking the question who should be the next leader of the Labour Party, and I'm trying to answer that question.
Charlie Faulkner, fellow Labour lawyer, he's known you for years.
I know Charlie very well, yeah.
Yeah, he says, and he knows you very well, and he says the truth is you were, quote, appalled by the awfulness of the Corbyn leadership.
I don't speak outside the shadow cabinet.
Were you appalled by the awfulness of Mr. Corbyn?
We obviously got it very wrong in that general election. Jeremy has stepped down.
He highlighted Starmer's shifting stance on the 2016 Trade Union Act, catching the Labour leader off guard. Starmer's attempts to reconcile his past positions with his current stance fell flat. He fumbled for explanations, his words becoming less coherent as the pressure mounted. Neil's precision and refusal to accept vague answers turned the interview into a spectacle. He interrupted Starmer's evasive responses, demanding clarity on issues like campaign financing. Starmer's attempts to downplay or redirect the conversation only fueled Neil's persistence. The more Starmer tried to dodge, the harder Neil pressed. As the interview progressed, Starmer's image as a competent leader began to unravel on live television. His body language betrayed his growing discomfort and frustration. The contrast between his initial confidence and his rattled state became stark. Viewers watched as Starmer struggled to maintain credibility, his responses becoming increasingly defensive and disjointed. The interview took an unexpected turn, leaving audiences questioning Starmer's preparedness. What started as a platform for Starmer to showcase his leadership qualities had become a masterclass in political demolition. Neil's relentless questioning exposed cracks in Starmer's political narrative, revealing a pattern of shifting positions that raised serious doubts about his consistency and transparency. As the cameras stopped rolling, one thing was clear: Starmer's performance had raised more questions than answers. His struggle to maintain composure under Neil's scrutiny left viewers pondering the implications for his leadership and the future of the Labour Party. Just when Starmer thought he'd weathered the worst, Neil unleashed a barrage of questions that would make even the most seasoned politicians squirm. How many inconsistencies could one interview expose before Starmer's credibility reached its breaking point? As Neil's relentless questioning continued, Starmer's attempts to deflect with rehearsed responses quickly unraveled. The Labour leader found himself caught in a web of his own contradictions, struggling to reconcile his past statements with his current positions. Neil methodically dismantled Starmer's arguments, wielding factual evidence like a scalpel to expose the inconsistencies in his political narrative. The tension in the studio reached a fever pitch when Neil confronted Starmer about his shifting stance on critical Labour policies. Gone were the confident assertions about nationalising industries and scrapping university tuition fees. In their place stood a man visibly flustered, grasping for explanations that seemed to slip through his fingers. Starmer's body language betrayed his growing discomfort and frustration, a stark contrast to his initial composure. But Neil wasn't finished. He pressed further, exposing inconsistencies in Starmer's leadership claims. The climax of the interview came when Neil confronted Starmer about his relationship with Jeremy Corbyn. Viewers watched in disbelief as Starmer fumbled to explain why his stance had changed so dramatically since taking leadership. His evasive and unconvincing responses only served to further damage his credibility. As the interview progressed, the stark contrast between Starmer's initial confidence and his final rattled state became impossible to ignore. The polished politician who had entered the studio was now a distant memory, replaced by a man struggling to maintain any semblance of control. Viewers witnessed a domino effect of revelations, each one chipping away at Starmer's carefully constructed image. The public reaction was swift and largely critical. Social media exploded with disappointment over Starmer's inability to clearly articulate his policies and defend his leadership claims. Many expressed shock at how quickly he crumbled under Neil's intense questioning. What had started as an opportunity for Starmer to showcase his leadership qualities had instead become a masterclass in political demolition, leaving viewers questioning his fitness to lead the Labour Party. As the dust settles on this explosive interview, Keir Starmer's reputation lies in ruins. Andrew Neil's relentless questioning exposed a politician ill-equipped to handle the pressures of leadership. Starmer's fumbling responses and inability to reconcile his past positions with his current stance have left viewers questioning his fitness to lead the Labour Party. The implications of this encounter for UK politics are far-reaching. Political analysts predict that the fallout could severely impact Labour's electoral prospects. Starmer's tendency to shift positions for political gain has been laid bare, reinforcing public skepticism about his leadership abilities. As viewers digest this political car crash, they're left wondering, if Starmer can't handle Neil's questions, how can he handle the challenges of being Prime Minister? This interview hasn't just damaged Starmer's image, it's reignited debates about political integrity and accountability. The Labour Party now faces tough questions about its future direction and leadership. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Keir Starmer's path to number 10 just got a whole lot rockier.